for joining us for the interview of the 2022 candidates for Asheville's mayor. I'm Kit Cramer, President and CEO of the Asheville Chamber, and I'm joined by one of our great public policy volunteers, Greg Burnette of First Citizens Bank. This interview will be with candidate Cliff Feingold. All interviews will be posted to the Chamber's website at ashevillechamber.org/2022 elections. Cliff, thank you again for joining us. I'm going to jump right into the first question.
Okay.
By 40, our metropolitan statistical area is expected to have added almost 100,000 people. What do you think is the top priority for how the city will manage that growth?
The top priority then and now actually is the affordability factor of living here in Asheville. Asheville is ranked number 2 as the most expensive place to live in North Carolina. And whenever I say that, people say, well, what's number 1? And I did look that up today. It's Boone, North Carolina. But also in the top 10 for most expensive places to live in North Carolina are Woodfin and Hendersonville, besides Asheville and Boone. So affordability needs to be addressed. And with that, I think the taxes and the fees charged to developers and contractors in Asheville are exorbitant and not fair. That needs to be scrutinized and adjusted so that people can afford to live here now and in the future.
Cliff, we know that a body that can work well together will be more effective. Please describe your preferred style in making policy and developing consensus with fellow members, and give us an example of where you were able to make a change as part of a team.
Well, since you mentioned team, there are 3 other people of like mind to mine that are running for city council. And if we're calling ourselves Your Team Asheville. And if all 4 of us can win in the primary on May 17th and also in the general election in November, there will be a diverse opinion on city council. If, say, I just win and the 3 conservative fellows that are running for city council don't win, most of the votes will probably be 6-1. Presently, it's either 7-0 or 6-1 with the present city council and mayor. So there is very little, if any, diversity now. And I think diversity will help to make judgments that the city council comes up with more fair and more representative of the majority of the citizens of Asheville.
So how do you balance policies like increasing density in certain corridors as a way to accommodate additional housing with neighbors who may be uncomfortable with growth and or change?
Well, people can be uncomfortable with growth and change, but it's going to happen. Fortunately, or in some cases, unfortunately, Asheville is a very popular place to live. We have the beautiful mountains, we have 4 seasons, a great climate, and back growing up here, I've lived here since I was 3 years old, and we had good old-time mountain values. Now, some of that is missing, but in present day, and I would like to bring back good old-time mountain values. So balancing growth with density and how to deal with that is that's Asheville has plenty of land. I mean, when I've been doing a fair amount of traveling lately, and whenever I fly back into Asheville, I just look down at the mountains and all the land that we have around Asheville, and just seeing the mountains always warms my heart. It's just, the mountains mean a lot to me. But we do have a lot of land here. I mean, we don't have to build it just in the city limits of downtown Asheville. Asheville has plenty of room to spread out and grow.
Cliff, what do you think the role of the business community is in our city?
Oh, the business community is the backbone of the city. If we didn't have business here, nobody'd be able to live here because nobody'd have a job. And I see nowadays, well, a lot of people are quitting their jobs, and I see signs all over town, help wanted, now hiring, bonuses, you know, to work. And so we've got plenty of jobs here, and the businesses all support our main industry ever since the early 1800s has been tourism. Some of my opponents that are running for mayor and then city council are opposed to tourism, but tourism is our main business. And if we don't support tourism, the city's going to go broke.
In general, Cliff, where do you get your information about what's going on in the community?
Well, I speak to a lot of people. One of the big problems in Asheville is the police department. Well, I've spoken to the Fraternal Order of Police. I speak to retired police officers, and I speak to present working police officers. And so I get it directly from people. And I keep my ears open. And I mean, I've heard many times, we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth, so it's better to use your ears more than twice as much as you use your mouth. So I do listen a lot.
Well, what will you do to reach out to the business community to give them a voice?
Well, there's been, I'll say, an unfriendly attitude by the city government in recent years towards business in Asheville. I mean, first of all, the attitude's got to change. And when the city council and the city government as a whole honors and respects and wants to listen to the businesses, the business people, well, then that will happen. Until the mindset can change, it's not going to happen. So step one is to be a business-friendly community.
Cliff, what is your stance on issues that affect businesses downtown, such as camping and panhandling?
Well, camping on other people's property is trespassing. Panhandling there's a law against it in Asheville. And I think that the laws should be enforced. The police department, well, unfortunately right now is down 42% last I heard of the officers. I've heard that at any one time, only 2 officers are patrolling all of downtown Asheville. So it's hard to enforce the laws when you don't have enough people to do it. And well, kind of on a tangent, but very important to this, is I've spoken to police officers, and they say the problem with hiring officers here in Asheville, I mean, the city is now spending $225,000 on looking into a firm that will look into how to recruit officers. They're not going to recruit officers. They're going to tell the city how to recruit officers. Well, I can tell you that for free from experience of listening to people talking who know about this. The average beginning salary of $42,000, I mean, that's not a hefty sum, but that's comparable to other cities. But what is not comparable is the attitude of the city government toward the police officers. Police officers will not come to Asheville until they feel like the city government respects them, will back them up, will fund them fully, and basically support them. And that won't happen until the city has a change of mind about what they feel about supporting the police officers. So then panhandling, camping, trespassing, all those things can be better addressed if we have the people to enforce the laws as they stand.
What do you consider to be the city council's role in maintaining public safety?
Well, the city council doesn't run the police department, but in a sense they do. They hire and fire the police chief. The police chief we have now, Chief Zach, I feel is a very fine public officer and is doing a great job as best he can. But the city council fired, I think in just a short number of years, we went through 5 chiefs of police here in Asheville. And it was because they couldn't get along with the city council, or the city council couldn't get along with them. So step one is to, like I said, honor and respect the police department, the chief, and have a good relationship with them.
The most recent version of the Bowen report says that we need more housing at every income level. How can city council promote more construction of housing?
I'm glad you asked me that, because I have a very good answer for that. We don't need affordable housing in Asheville. What we need is housing that can be built affordably. Contractors, developers, builders, in my listening tours, they've all told me that the fees and taxes and unwieldy inspections that the city imposes on them is just, they don't want to build in Asheville because it's just too expensive, too burdensome. And when the builders have to pay all these exorbitant fees, they have to pass it on to the people that they're going to sell or rent their properties to. So step one is Asheville needs to look at the fees and taxes charged to the builders and contractors and adjust those so that so people will want to build here and build affordably.
In 1 minute or less, tell us what sets you apart as a candidate for mayor.
That's easy. I grew up in the business world. My father owned a lot of businesses around Western North Carolina. And from age 6 on, we always worked in the stores on weekends and holidays. And then I ran a very successful business, dental practice here in Asheville, which was a business for over 40 years. And I have a firm background in business. Asheville has not been run as a business in as long as I can remember. I'll bring a business sense to the running of Asheville.
Well, thank you for being with us today. As a reminder, you can find interviews of our other candidates at ashevillechamber.org/2022 elections. And please be sure to vote in our primary on Tuesday, May 17th. So Cliff, again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you.